Hey guys, this is Josh from Sandbox for Kids coming to you with another Unity tutorial. So this is the second in the series, so we're going to go over some terrain basics today. Pop open Unity for the start, and we're going to create a new project. I'm going to call it Terrain Basics Sandbox. I'm going to throw it in a folder up here. I created Unity Games. And we want to keep the setting on the 3D setting because we like 3D games here. Create the project. Can bring it up. Hope everyone likes my Darth Vader desktop. Alright, so here we have Unity open, and so our last video we went over some editor basics, so you guys should all know how to reposition windows, dock windows wherever you want them, and have a general sense of what each window does. So this is our scene view. This is what we're going to be working in. So I usually like to have my scene view up here, have all these windows up here: scene, animation, animator, asset store, console. One thing we went over the console in the last video, but the console is if you're writing code in Unity, it's going to bring up any code errors. So you can it'll bring up some errors. You can click on it and it'll show you exactly what line it's in. And yeah, so we're gonna go to our scene. So we're going over terrains today. So first thing we want to do, I'm gonna go to project view. So this is our management structure, if you remember from the last video. So I'm gonna go to project, create folder, and I'm gonna create a terrains folder. And so we're gonna go to our scene view, and I'm gonna go up to game object, 3D object, and create a terrain. So there we have it. We have an empty terrain. So terrains are cool because this is basically if you want to have any kind of environment or nature in your game, you want to have a terrain in it. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can get a better view on it. This is actually a pretty big terrain. I'm going to go to Inspector, and here we go. I get a little bit closer in. So remember, you can right click and use the WASD keys to move around. And you can also double click on it to get a view of the entire thing. You don't want to do that here. Yeah. And I don't know, real quick before I forget, I'm going to save scene, and actually I'm going to create a new folder for our scenes. Scenes, save the scene as train intro scene. Alright, now we have our terrain intro scene there. And this terrain I just made appeared in our project structure too. I'm going to throw that in the terrains folder. And we're going to call our terrain ground. So remember, we can rename stuff by either right-clicking and pressing rename, or we can just click on it and click again, and it'll bring up the text. Or, alternatively, we can go up here and then inspector. So once you've clicked on an object, we can go to the inspector, and we can rename it there. So let's name it ground. And what I like to do is every once in a while, more often than not, I like to push Control S. That's just going to save the current scene in the project, so we don't lose anything. It's important. So here we have our terrain, and we have a bunch of different options. The transform options. We're not going to worry about that right now, but what we are going to worry about is we have a bunch of different tools we can use. We have a raise/lower terrain option, paint height option, smooth height, paint texture, place trees, and these guys are a little bit more advanced features. So first thing we're going to do is we have what's great about the terrains in Unity is we can just use a paintbrush to literally paint trees and paint terrain and paint mountains, which is cool and easy to use and very powerful. So we have some pre-made stuff that the Unity editor actually provides that we can use couple trees. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to press import package, and we're going to import from environment package. So this is a pre-made environment package that has trees and tons of great stuff. So, but we have a lot of stuff that we don't want to import in here too. So this is what comes up when you import stuff from the Unity editor, sample imports. And so this is everything. So we don't want to import everything. We're just going to uncheck that because we don't want everything. I'm going to close down some of this stuff. Close down cross-platform input. We don't need that. We're not going to make this for phone or anything. I'm going to close down this editor input. And here in environment is where we're going to actually be using some of this stuff. So what we want is we want speed tree. Speed tree is going to give us some ready-made trees. We want that. And then we want terrain assets. That's going to give us stuff like ground textures, like grass and mud, and maybe snow if we're lucky. That'd be cool. And yeah, it's a terrain. We can also, they also have some ready-made water for us, but we're not going to import that because it's basically the same as the terrain, except there's ready-made water. And yeah, if you're into 3D modeling, you're into texture design and art design, you can create these assets yourself, or there's tons of assets online that you can find as well too. So I'm going to close down the water, all that stuff. We don't need utility. So yeah, that should be all we need. And I'm going to press import, and hopefully we get everything we want. I'll take a second to import this stuff. And here we have it. So it's going to be under standard assets. So standard assets, environment, and speed tree. So we have 3 different types of trees. We have a broadleaf, conifer, and palm. So we can actually throw these into the scene to see what they look like. So remember, we have prefabs. I'm going to expand this out so we can read all of this. So this is our prefab for the entire tree. So these are all we have materials for the trees. So the materials are going to be very detailed materials that go on each part. So we have the branches material, leaves material, so on and so forth. And then we have tons and tons of different textures to really get the effects we want on these. And then this prefab here, the broadleaf desktop, that's going to have everything combined into one package. So I can either put it up here in the hierarchy, or I could place it where I want in here on the scene. And oh, there we go. And it'll automatically place it on a terrain for us because it's very smart like that. And I just put it right there, and there we have it. We have a getting a little lag. Have a broadleaf prefab right there. Like super fancy. Ooh, nice stuff. It's complete with colliders and everything, as you can see by these circles. You can go up in the hierarchy view. So the hierarchy view has everything we have in our scene view. Nice and great right there for us. So here we have all these collision objects, which have a bunch of capsule colliders. So that will give us trigger information that we can use to trigger collisions. So if something runs into it, we can tell it to do stuff. It's great. That's how our game logic is going to work. And so yeah, so our broadleaf, we have conifer and palm, but we don't need to. They're the same type of thing. We have the prefabs here that we can put on. And then we have in our terrain assets, we have a bunch of stuff. In our surface textures, we have a bunch of different textures we can put on. We have some grass, we have some grass, rocky, mud, sand, and cliffs. So you can use that to create some great stuff. I'm going to go ahead and delete this prefab of this tree right here. Just Control S to save it. I'm a little OCD about having everything saved at all times. So, I'm going to close this down, and we're going to make some terrain stuff now. So, alright, so first of all, what we can do, so I'm going to show you how to raise up the ground. So if you use something like Kodu, then this will be pretty familiar. You just use a paintbrush tool here, and there's tons of different paint designs, so we can just use a regular circle brush, and then we can increase, decrease the size of it, or the radius of it, like this. And we want it super big. And basically just hold it down and it's going to raise it up. So, super powerful, super easy to use. Can change the opacity, a little less powerful. Yeah, so that way it's not going to just go straight up really fast when we hold it down like that. Oops. There you go. We can have our opacity at 100. It's going to blast upwards really fast. We can make giant cliffs as fast as we want. Right? And yeah. So if we want to lower it, gives us instructions over here. We can hold shift to lower it like this, and then click. That's going to lower it. And same as when you're raising it, you're just going to click above and click on it, hit the brush nicely on it, get that going. And I'm going to decrease my opacity because it's really giving me hell right there. Now we have some nice mountain ranges there. The Rockies. A nice valley going here. So I'm going to decrease my brush size. And here, so we have a couple different types of raised lower terrains. This one, so this is going to give us a specific height. So this is going to move the terrain to the height we specify here. So we have, say, 192. This is going to move the terrain, all the terrain we click on. So it's going to, this terrain is probably going to lower. This terrain right here, in this spot, is going to heighten. You see, this terrain is going to lower here. Or it should. Oh no, it's at 120, or 92, which is really high. So 27, then it's going to lower it. Yeah, it's going to lower it here. So it evens it out to a constant height. If we have a value in mind that we want to set terrain to, we can do that. And we can create some pretty nice valleys and such like that. I'm going to create a nice little valley in here. And yeah, so now we have a smooth height, so we can make it look nice and smooth. Oops. And I got this brush. Make this valley over here nice and smooth. Well, you know what, you might want it rough. So depends what you want in your game. And yeah. Smooth height. That's just just click on it and it's going to smooth it out for you. And then we have this paint texture. So here's where things get really interesting. If you remember those assets we imported from Unity, we're going to press Edit Textures, Add Texture, and we're going to go to our, let's see, I believe just normal textures. Let's see if that. No, we want the. We don't want that. We want none, and we want albedo textures. Let's see, we have grass. So let's just have some simple rock textures. Add that on. And there we have it. We have a very simple rock texture there, and then want some grass in here as well. So add another texture, add grass hill. I'm going to put some of that, so you can select whatever texture you want in here. So these are the textures we have added to our paintbrush tool. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to add some grass in here in this valley. Beautiful grass there. It's gorgeous. Alright, so we have some nice valleys here. And now we have our trees. So same thing, we want to grab those tree prefabs that we have in the standard assets, the speed tree. So we want to grab all three of those and import them to our terrain so we can put them in mass. I'm going to edit trees, add tree, and we're gonna, so it says tree prefab here, tree prefab, and we're gonna go ahead, press the little circle, and grab our trees. So we have a bunch of different types of trees. So we have the mobile ones. We don't want that. We want desktop because I'm playing on a desktop right now, or I'm editing on a desktop right now. So then double click this, the broadleaf, add it in there, and let's add in our other two types of trees as well that we got. The broadleaf, conifer, add you in, and then the palm tree. Now we have palms, and we have the same types, or we have a paintbrush for our trees now, so we can add them in quite and density. So here we have mass placed trees, so we can say how many trees we want to put in at once. So say like 30. Oh, and we can specifically say we want to put in 30 trees. And yeah, so we can decrease our brush size a little bit, decrease our tree density. So if we put this up at 100, it's going to fill our entire brush size up with tons and tons of trees. So like that. But if we decrease our density, we can put in just a couple trees in there. And yeah, there we have. So I have the palm selected right now. I'm going to put in some broadleaves. Nice valley going there. Maybe decrease that to like 3 trees. You can put those up there. And decrease the size. That was a little bit. So we have tons of different options here. We can decrease this tree and the tree height, as you can see. Get those guys. Some really big trees and some really small trees. Those palm trees look very out of place there. And yeah, get tons and tons of different trees. So I'm gonna add a couple more trees. A little forest going here. Very tropical forest. Alright, now that we have a nice little forest, we're going to, we can test this out, put a little player in there, see how it looks from the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and put a capsule. I like to use PEM capsules for my player demos. Call it player, and he is a little bit of the ground. So I'm going to go to his transform, go to his Y, move that a little bit. Right there. You can also, so by the way, you can go here and you can move this value up or down really nicely by going like that. And yeah, I'm gonna use these right on top of the ground. So we can do that. Oh, I want to do that. We can do that, or we can go like this and click on his axis and move him. Put him right on top of the ground. And I'm going to import a script, pre-made script I wrote. I'm going to go to desktop, Unity Games, assets, no, sandbox, simple projects, assets for tutorials, and I want a simple movement script. And I'm also going to grab this player camera. So I'm going to create a script folder. Close all this stuff down and throw these scripts in there. Alright. And I'm going to throw them on the player. So we have simple movement. Our player camera, this is actually going to go on our camera. Main camera. So now we have our camera on here. I want the target. This variable is set to target the player. So we're going to drag. So what we can do is, these are variables in our scripts, and we can drag objects onto them to reference them. So and we'll go more into that later, but here we can put our player right on our target like that, and we can make our distance say 10, and player has a simple movement, make our speed 6, jump speed 8, and gravity 20. That sounds about good, and see what that looks like. Oh, does not look very good at all. That's what we need to do. So on our player, we need to have a character controller. Character controller, and that looks good. So it just gave me an error down here. It said missing component inspections. There's no character controller attached to the player game object. So just for reference here, we need to, this player, this simple movement script, inside of it actually accesses another component called the character controller, which is a ready-made component that helps us make easy character movement in Unity. And there's a couple ways to do that, and character controller is one of them. So let's see if this, I'm going to clear the console, go back to my scene, and see if this works now. Hopefully it does. There we go. So now we can move around. Can't really see our player, so I'm going to, we can go in here, go to our camera, and we can change the distance to 5. How about that? Maybe 4. We can kind of see our player now. They're there. I can't really go over slopes, but yeah, our forest looks nice. Kind of trapped in this little alcove here. Oh, there we go. Can't really turn. This isn't a very complex script, but it does the job. We can take a look at our forest from a player's perspective. Yeah, looks super nice. I'm really proud of our terrain work. And so I think that is going to be it for this tutorial video, and thank you for watching. Check back next time. See ya.